Vera Atkins, the woman in the shadows. In the world of shadows where whispers carried secrets and danger lay around every corner, Vera Atkins was no ordinary woman. Her story begins far from the fields of war, in the city of Galați, Romania, where she was born Vera May Rosenberg on June 15, 1908. The daughter of Max Rosenberg, a German Jewish businessman, and his British Jewish wife, Hilda, Vera grew up in a world of privilege. But privilege is fleeting, and history has a way of changing even the most carefully laid plans. Her childhood was gilded with wealth and opportunity. She attended the Sorbonne in Paris, indulging her love of languages, and spent time at a finishing school in Lausanne, perfecting the art of skiing. But life's lessons aren't always learned in classrooms. In 1932, the Rosenberg family's fortune crumbled. Her father's business went bankrupt, and within a year he was gone. Vera and her mother stayed behind in Romania, their grand estate at Krasna, near Bucharest, a fading symbol of a life that was slipping away. The fall, a house of stone, a life of gold, turned dust and shadows as stories unfold. What once was hers, now memories keep. A world of whispers, secrets deep. The move to Britain. In 1937, with war clouds gathering over Europe, Vera made a choice that would change everything. She left Romania for Britain, sensing that trouble was brewing on the continent. She settled in London, blending into its cosmopolitan life, far from her former world of privilege, but closer to a greater destiny. The journey. Across the sea, she sailed through fate, a whisper of change at history's gate, leaving behind the life she knew to find her place among the few. The web of diplomats and spies. Even before the war, Vera had connections most could only dream of or fear. She moved easily among diplomats and spies. Some believed she had worked as a stringer for British intelligence, passing information to those who shared her family's strong pro-British sentiments. In those pre-war years, Vera worked as a translator and oil company representative, but her life was far from ordinary. Sir William Stevenson, the legendary Canadian spy master, saw her potential. He sent her on fact-finding missions across Europe, where she gathered intelligence on Nazi Germany's growing threat and passed it to none other than Winston Churchill. The Watcher. Eyes that see, words that hide, a secret carried, a whisper denied. Footsteps quiet, shadows wide. The world turns darker, she's watching inside. The beginning of a legend. Vera was no longer just a spectator in history's grand theatre. She was becoming a player, one whose role would soon expand beyond anything she could have imagined. Her name would change, her life would shift into the shadows, and the world would come to know her as Vera Atkins, a woman who would stop at nothing to protect those who fought for freedom. Vera Atkins, the heart of the resistance. The world of espionage was no place for the faint of heart, yet Vera Atkins thrived in the shadows. By 1941, her role in the Special Operations Executive, SOE, had grown beyond mere logistics. She became the gatekeeper for dozens of agents, men and women, she helped prepare for dangerous missions deep inside Nazi-occupied France. They were the invisible army, fighting without uniforms, winning battles no one would see. Vera's attention to detail was legendary. She made sure every agent's cover story was airtight, their forged papers flawless, and their disguises convincing. She even checked the stitching on their clothing, ensuring it matched French styles. Nothing escaped her watchful eye. Many of those agents were women, young, brave, and determined, Wireless operators, couriers, and saboteurs, each carrying a piece of hope for the resistance. Vera watched them leave from dark airstrips, their parachutes disappearing into the night. The night departure. They fell through shadows on wings of fate, brave souls flying to meet their date. In silence, they drifted, carried by night, a whisper of freedom fading from sight. "Stay strong," she whispered to herself, "and don't let fear follow you." The Prosper Network. Betrayal in the shadows. But in the murky world of espionage, danger was always one step behind. In 1943, disaster struck the SOE's largest network in France, the Prosper Circuit. Its leader, Francis Sutil, and several key agents were betrayed. One by one, they were captured by the Sicherheitsdienst, SD, the Nazi security service. A single mistake, a missed security check, had been the warning sign, but by the time anyone noticed, it was too late. Betrayal. A signal missed, a shadow cast. The safety they knew unraveled fast. Trust was shattered with a silent lie, and hope disappeared beneath the sky. 27 agents were arrested on landing, many disappearing into the Gestapo's hands. The Germans had gained control of Prosper's radios and began sending false messages back to London. The England game had begun. Words turned weapons, whispers turned to steel. The truth is rewritten, deception is real. A game of shadows, a deadly scheme, where safety was nothing but a fleeting dream. A silent battle. Rumors of betrayal began to spread through the SOE. Some questioned whether Vera and her superior, Colonel Maurice Buckmaster, had ignored the signs of the network's collapse. Others believed the failures were inevitable, an unfortunate consequence of war. But Vera refused to point fingers. She focused on what could be done next. Her agents were still out there, and she wasn't about to give up on them. The fight wasn't over. The clock kept ticking, the war pressed on, through darkest nights and fleeting dawns. A battle fought with fading light, each silent hour another fight, behind enemy lines. Even as the circuits collapsed, Vera remained determined. The agents who survived needed her more than ever. Each coded transmission from the field was now a lifeline, and she spent countless nights in the signals room waiting for those faint whispers in the dark. She knew every agent's code name, every secret signal. She committed them all to memory, her mind like a steel trap, never forgetting, never missing a detail. The signal room. In shadows deep, the signals hum, each beat a call, each word a drum. A fragile thread across the air, a message whispered in a prayer. But time was running out, the Germans were tightening their grip, and Vera could feel the weight of every decision pressing down on her. A network in ruins. By late 1943, it was clear that the damage was catastrophic. Entire networks had been compromised. The Prosper Circuit lay in ruins, its key members either executed or imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps. Vera faced the heartbreaking task of piecing together what had happened. She spent hours poring over intercepted messages, trying to find patterns, hoping to salvage what was left. A network in ruins. A puzzle of echoes, fragments of pain, searching for faces lost in the rain. Each clue a whisper, each name a scar, tracing their footsteps from near to afar. The weight of responsibility grew heavier with each passing day. She knew she couldn't save everyone, but she wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. A promise, unbroken. Despite the mounting losses, Vera's resolve remained unshaken. She had made a promise to the men and women she sent into danger, I will remember you. I will find the truth. The promise. For every soul lost, a light still burns. A story remembered, a life that returns. Their voices echo in winds that sing. A promise held fast through everything. And that promise would drive her long after the war ended. Despite the mounting losses, Vera's resolve remained unshaken. She had made a promise to the men and women she sent into danger. I will remember you. I will find the truth. Her search for the missing agents defined her post-war years. She uncovered their fates, confronted war criminals, and stood witness to history's darkest moments. But when the war ended, Vera's story did not. After the war, demobilized in 1947, Vera quietly stepped out of the shadows. Although nominated for an MBE, she received no decoration in the immediate post-war honors lists. Instead, she moved on, accepting a position with UNESCO's Central Bureau for Educational Visits and Exchanges, where she worked until her early retirement in 1961. But the world had not forgotten her. Hollywood reached out to capture the stories she had lived through. She advised on the 1950 film Odette and the 1958 film Carve Her Name with Pride, both dedicated to the courage and sacrifice of SOE agents. Her life was still wrapped in layers of mystery and secrecy. Some colleagues questioned her motives, suggesting she had worked for the Germans or even the Soviets. But these accusations lacked proof, and her biographer Sarah Helm dismissed them as speculation born from Vera's intense privacy and reluctance to speak about her wartime mission to the continent in 1940. A life in shadows, a life of whispers, secrets untold, a woman of fire in a world grown cold. In shadows she stood, quiet and wise, her truth reflected in watchful eyes. The keeper of memory. Though she rarely spoke of her experiences, Vera remained a staunch defender of SOE's wartime record. She ensured that the 12 women who died in concentration camps were honored with memorial plaques near the places where they were executed. Their names will never be forgotten, Vera promised. She supported the Valence Memorial in the Loire Valley, unveiled in 1991, dedicated to the agents of SOE who died in France. In 1996, she wrote to the Daily Telegraph defending Noor Inayat Khan, recounting her bravery, escape attempts, and the cruel conditions she endured in Pforzheim prison. This is Noor's answer, Vera wrote, to those who doubted her. Honors finally came late in life. In 1948, Vera received the Croix de Guerre, and in 1987 she was made a Knight of the Legion of Honor by the French government. In 1997, she was appointed CBE, recognition at last for the woman who had quietly shaped so many lives. The final chapter. In 2000, Vera Atkins passed away at age 92 in a hospital in Hastings. She had been recovering from a fall when she contracted MRSA, which ultimately claimed her life. Her ashes were scattered in St. Senara's churchyard in Zennor, Cornwall, where her memorial plaque lies on the northern wall, shared with her brother Guy. The inscription reads, Vera May Atkins, CBE, Légion d'honneur, Croix de Guerre. But even after her passing, mystery lingered. The Association of Jewish Ex-Servicemen and Women of the UK tried to place a Star of David at her memorial in 2012, only to have the request denied by her family. A legacy of silence, a life of secrets held close, locked tight, a guardian of truth hidden from light. Her story lives on in whispers and stone, a legend of shadows forever unknown. A life remembered. In the end, Vera's life was more than the sum of her secrets. She was a protector, a seeker of truth, and a keeper of memories too heavy for most to bear. She made sure the stories of her agents lived on, etched in memorials, whispered in history, and carried in the hearts of those who remember. The world may never know all of Vera's secrets, but perhaps it's better that way.